It's the next level.
Hey, my name is Ross Marquand, and I play Red Skull. You are listening to Panels to Pixels podcast. Check it out.
You've wasted your breath, Borch. I don't kill dragons. Take my advice. No treasure is worth dying for.
Depends on the treasure. What I need is a new adventure. One final first before I'm too old to do anything but die.
And you think killing a dragon will bring you that?
All I know is there's one path up the mountain and it's overrun with monsters. With you on my team, dear Witcher, we'll be unstoppable.
Someone get me a fucking drink. Barman.
Those dwarves will be part of the hunt.
Barman.
Geralt could handle them in his sleep.
Fucking right! He said he wants 4 fucking pints!
Hey, panelers, welcome back to the show. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And this week we are concentrating on The Witcher Season 1, Episode 6, and it's called Rare Species.
Yes.
And the episode synopsis is, a mysterious man tries to entice Geralt to join a hunt for a rampaging dragon, a quest that attracts a familiar face, and Ciri questions who she can trust. Now, there was a lot going on with this episode. I got a whole, Fellowship of the Rings vibe out of this because we had dwarves, we had a witch, we had some crazy prince-like kind of dude. You got that weird wizarding kind of things. So, yeah, it was pretty cool. I enjoyed the episode, as it were, because it kind of gave me that feel of the 80s medieval Dragon Slayer, Lord of the Rings kind of vibe.
Yeah, it definitely, I've got this later in my notes, but I'll talk about it now. It definitely was more episodic of an episode, if that makes sense, because it was definitely a standalone episode, but we get smatterings of the serial plot throughout the whole thing, so it was really great to kind of have a break from worrying about how the characters connect together and the plots and all that kind of stuff, just to have a real straightforward D&D type quest, you know?
Yeah, I miss that kind of myth and legend kind of journey into something where it's set off on a path. But in this case, this particular episode was a quest for a dragon, or a certain variety of dragons, which Geralt gets into during the actual episode when they talk about it.
Yeah, I'll admit, when I watched this the first time, when I did my binge through, I did not see the twist coming at all. I had no clue when that golden dragon appeared and it was the voice of Borch. I was like, what? And I was like, oh, now I get it.
Yeah.
You know, and so watching it this time, I was able to watch for some of those clues as to his identity and kind of that his part in the story. You know, because I thought it was really, really cool. And I don't even put this in my notes, so I hope we get into it as we talk about it. There's subtle things throughout the episode that we get that now, looking at it, I go, oh, yeah, we could have seen that he was a dragon. Like when the warriors talk about the fact that, he's this beautiful, whatever, I can't remember exactly how they put it, when Jaskier asks them about how they're together. Then later there's a moment when he first meets Geralt and talks about the dragon, and Geralt says he doesn't kill dragons, and he says that's kind of funny that you're a monster killer but you don't kill dragons. You know, just little subtle things like that throughout the episode, and then him having so much knowledge about dragons when they have that conversation. So it was kind of cool to go back these 2 times watching it this week with that knowledge.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it was nice to go back, have a little bit of information, go back and rewatch it and see things that we didn't see before.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, there was that twist.
Mm-hmm.
But also there was a couple of things that I liked, because I think it's something that might come back later on in another season.
I hope so.
that Borch had done at the end.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. So with that, I think we should get on to our top fives.
Absolutely.
And I went last week, I believe, so you should go first.
Don't judge me.
Okay, my number 5 is just Jaskier himself. I love how he's making up this new song at the very beginning while they're waiting for Geralt to come back from that little mission at the very beginning. I love him kind of hitting on the female warriors there, and then he wants to join until he sees Yennefer, and then it's the exact opposite with Geralt. You know, Geralt doesn't want to join the quest until he sees Yennefer, and then he does want to join. So it was really great to see that interaction between the two of them, and just that look on his face. And I think he almost starts to say "OF" when Geralt's like, "I'm in," you know. So just Jaskier in this episode was really good. He had some really, really funny moments, some great stuff, and I've got some more in my notes about Jaskier as well.
Yeah, same here. I love the idea of Jaskier. He definitely is that comic or comedic element of the show that we need, but also he always finds himself in some sort of little peril or throwing himself in a little bit of a pickle at certain times of what he says or what he does. So
yeah,
and I think it also helps him further the whole travels of Geralt and what he's doing too. He's always there by Geralt's side, regardless of what Geralt says.
Yeah.
I hate you. Go away. And he's always there, you know?
yeah.
I love that aspect of him. I just love the idea of the group that Borch had created in the very beginning. Pretty reminiscent, I already said it. It just kind of reminded me of a quest. Like in Lord of the Rings, they needed to have several groups. In this, they had 4. And it took Geralt to see Yennefer in the very beginning at the bar when he was saying, no. Oh, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And you're like,
yeah.
Okay. And Jaskier's like, oh, great. No.
yeah.
And then, then you have the dwarves, which is almost somewhat like a comedic take to the show itself, which I loved. I love that aspect of them. Plus, I love dwarves. I love that idea of elves, dwarves, humans, trolls, and all that good stuff that comes from that fantasy element.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you get the other people. You got a couple of savages like that Borch carries around, like those 2 women. Yeah, and they just like out there taking out people.
Yeah.
Like in the very beginning, they cut the guy's head off.
No, she broke his neck. She broke it with her bare hands.
In my opinion, that was breaking. Cutting
that's
somebody's head off.
That's what Jaskier says, because that's the whole thing. Jaskier says she just killed that man with her bare hands. So yeah.
Yeah, so I just love that whole idea and element of of it. So
yeah, that leads right into my number 4, which is the 4 different groups that are going out on this quest. But it's weird because of the nature of how they're supposed to approach the dragon. They are all basically traveling together most of the show. So you already talked about the dwarves a little bit, who were just really in it for the money. Then they have the Reavers, and I wonder if that was a subtle Firefly reference there, because the Reavers were in Firefly were the people who had gone space mad out in the far reaches of space, and that's the whole plot line for the movie Serenity after the TV series ended. So I thought that was kind of cool, getting those Reavers. And then of course we have Borch as the dragon trying to go save one of his own, and Yennefer with her reasons for wanting to go on the quest. And all of them had, like you said, their different kind of reasons. I thought that was really cool that we got to see those different things.
Yeah. My number 4 would be the Herika. Yeah, it was killed by Ike. And he was just overzealous. But we find his demise later. And I thought it was best to kill him for killing the Herika. Because, even though he was on the toilet, I think it was definitely needed. I had watched that scene like 3 times. I'm looking at it and going, this guy is just out there. You could tell he was afraid. He just killed this thing out of spite just because he was afraid. But what was Yennefer doing with him? And on top of that, it sounded like a rich kid that had a sword and felt empowered to do something, and they all saw it going, "What? You're just killing it. Geralt just told you, yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had this in my notes because I didn't have it as one of my top 5, so I love that you bring it up, because it's kind of an interesting thing, because on one hand, Geralt did tell them all to stop and told them to sheathe their weapons, and then he jumps in front of Geralt and kills the thing. But also at the beginning, Borch had said, this path is going to be fraught with monsters, and that's why I need you with me. This is the only monster we see. So where were all these other monsters that they were going to have to fight to get to the dragon? So it's a little weird. And then, and I went back and forth on it with the killing of him, because I agree that it was wrong for him to kill the Herica, especially because Geralt told everybody, no, we don't need to kill it. But at the same time, one of the Reavers, Boholt, is the one that kills him. And at the end there, Yennefer wants to get revenge for this guy on Boholt, because she says that. She says, oh, Boholt is mine, I'm going to take him out. And then, in fact, she does kill him at the end. But it was a weird scene. And then, of course, we get the more humor when he eats it, even though everybody is telling him, don't eat that, And so yes, I love that you bring that up, because that was in my notes, just a little bit about the Herica and Sir Ick. So
Ike,
yeah,
whatever you want to call him.
yeah. So my number 3 is Adam Levy. He's the one who portrays Mousak. I love his portrayal in this episode, because it took me watching it 3 times to really notice the subtle differences. But there's definitely, he plays Mousak as a different character, really. I mean, the hair is slicked back, and it's got that little bun knot or whatever on the back, just like the doppelganger like to do. His speech patterns are very not Mousak-like. And you can tell when Ciri is questioning him, because I think Ciri even had doubts all along before Dara figures it out. So I just thought it was really, really cool the way he portrayed that. And then we see here, we saw Mousak take the queen's sash off her dead body. He was going to use it to hang himself. And here the doppelganger, the changeling, uses that sash to kind of show Ciri, look, here, I took this from your grandmother's body, and try to get back into her trust. And so I thought that was really just the whole, his way of acting, because we're going to see him again portraying the real Mousak in the last couple of episodes. So
yeah, because everything's out of sequence and we don't know where one left off and one began.
Yeah.
Exactly. My number 3 would be Yennefer's need for the dragon based upon its healing properties, her continuing need to have her choice back to have a child, plus Geralt's speech to her, and you could tell he cares for her. They argue like a couple within the actual scene itself. Then he drops the bomb of the child surprise, which I thought was pretty cool. And she's like, why are you dropping this now? Why are you telling me this now?
Yeah, and that was an interesting comment, because she wants to have a child. And even the dragon at the end there, Borch tells her, you'll never get your womb back. So I think that was unfortunate, but it's also interesting. Geralt makes an interesting comment during their conversation, one of their conversations about this, when he says that their kind were made sterile for a reason. And so now I'm starting to think that maybe all of the mages, all of the witches are all not able to bear children. That may be just a consequence of the power. It wasn't just specific to Yennefer, so I thought that was kind of interesting. And then, of course, when he mentions the child of surprise, like you said, she gets very, what is it? It's not defensive, but she gets kind of mad and frustrated, because she realizes that Geralt can have something that she wants, but can't have, and he doesn't want it. She wants a child and can't have a child. He has a child and doesn't want it, basically, is the way she plays it off. So I thought that was a really, really cool scene. So my number 2 is, you briefly mentioned the timelines. Our timelines are starting to get closer together here, because the dwarves mention that Nilfgaard is on the attack, but they haven't made it to Cintra yet. And Yennefer talks about the fact that she's been alive for all these years and never seen a Witcher, and now she meets one for the first time and she can't get rid of him. So we know that this episode takes place after the last episode. We don't know exactly how much time has passed, and I watched really closely when they're talking in the tent, and he's talking about how the last time they were together she left. And then she says, no, you left first when I was in that ruined house. So that tells us that there's at least one time, or unless I'm overthinking it, there's at least one time in between the house at Rend and this moment when they have interacted.
Oh, definitely there is. Oh, definitely there is, because that's something I don't recall from previous episodes.
Yeah, and in those flashes, there's a moment when he wakes up in the bed and she's not there. Then they show us the moment when she woke up in the house and he wasn't there. And then, of course, the next day she wakes up, or I can't remember which one wakes up first in the tent, but they're together in the tent. So there was definitely an interaction that we haven't seen yet. So I don't know if that's going to play into the second season or if they're never going to revisit it or what. But I just found it really interesting that we're starting to get our timelines to match up here.
Oh, definitely. And that was your number 2.
Yes, that brings us to your number 2.
My number 2 would be Ciri's journey with the Changeling. She badgers him and tortures him with questions, as him portraying himself as Mousak, but he's not thinking that she knows something. But it was a way for her to get the truth to come out from him. I just loved it. It was her badgering. It was a nice bit of manipulation from her just to get the truth out of him of who he is. Then we see his true face when she puts the silver to his skin.
Yeah, that was crazy, wasn't it? The way he had the pointed ears and the black skin and everything. I was just like, ooh, those things are ugly.
Yeah, we get to see that true self. What does that thing look like? And we finally get it. He looks almost a little bit like a troll, like in Lord of the Rings in itself, kind of grayish with the pointed ears and the funky face with the teeth.
Yeah.
But, and then, they were able to take him down at some point.
Yeah, and that was another interesting scene because she doesn't actually kill him. She doesn't stab him with the silver. She just puts the silver against his skin and then he runs off. Then the other guy, Kahar, or whatever the guy's name is, catches her in the woods. And so we have to assume that the Changeling was bringing her to him in the woods. He was trying to tell her that he was bringing her to Geralt, but he was actually bringing her to this guy. And then, of course, they fight, the Changeling and this guy fight. And there's an interesting exchange that I noticed the last time I watched it when the Changeling becomes this, I can't say his name. You said his name last week. I can't say it. Kahar or Kir or whatever, however you say it.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah. Anyway, he becomes him and he says, do you really believe she is what you think she is? And something about a prophecy and all this. So I thought that was really interesting. And of course, he cuts him and he chases the Changeling down and he ends up killing everyone. That was a funny scene there. I mean, not really funny, but kind of dark humor there at the end with him and Frigilla when he's in that tavern and all those dead bodies are around him and Frigilla is like tending to his wounds. And she says, we could have just tested all of them with silver. And he said, no, I had steel out already. So it was like he killed everybody just because. But anyway, so that brings us to my number 1. And I think our number 1s are very similar, which is just the whole fight scene there at the end and some of the aspects of it that I'll bring up and you can bring up. The dwarves, I thought it was funny that she froze the dwarves in where they stood. And then Jaskier sleeps through the thing. And when he comes upon the dwarves, he's like, are we queuing for something? And then he just walks around them. But, they all miss it. And I love that I mentioned it before about Yennefer wanting to kill Boholt. And she actually ends up saving Geralt by killing Boholt. But that whole fight it's a really good big fight scene that we haven't seen in a couple episodes. I think maybe the banquet scene a couple episodes ago was the last really big fight scene we got to see.
Oh, definitely. And the fight scenes were amazing, especially, and I should go into my other notes because I left something in there and it's something definitely based upon what's going on now.
Mm-hmm.
Within that fight scene, we actually see, Yennefer using a sword.
Mm-hmm.
It's not consistently of using witchcraft or whatever it is or sorcery.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we get to see her fighting skills. She could handle herself physically in this.
I think there was one point where she was using 2 swords. She had like a sword and a knife or a short sword. She had a sword in each hand.
Yes.
Anyway, at one point. So
yeah, definitely.
That's always cool. It's always cool when I see that because I think that's one of the coolest kind of fighting styles that I've ever seen. And I love it when actors can pull it off and look natural with it. And she looked like she knew what she was doing using both hands there.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, and I forgot to mention we got to see the dragon. We get to see the dragon fire. Also, he burns that guy in the cave.
Yeah.
At the end when the dragon says, the golden dragon says, I'll protect the egg, and everybody else runs out to fight, and that one guy wakes up, and he thinks there's nobody else is there, and so he's going towards to either, I guess he was going to kill the egg, or I'm not sure what he was going to try to do.
Yeah.
But the golden dragon appears and says, "No, you won't do that," or I can't remember the exact line, and then burns him with dragon fire. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, which gives me the sense of almost like if you remember the movie Dragonheart, and the dragon speaks.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's
in this case, it's not Sean Connery, but
right, but yeah, but we hear that, and it's okay. I'm okay with there was a few times when the dragon's mouth didn't really match. Yeah, but that's okay because I always think of it when those dragons are, I don't know. I just
if
think
they're
of more
talking, I think it's more subliminal.
yeah, more of a
anything.
telepathy kind of thing than it is
Yeah.
really them speaking through like a vocal thing. So I was okay with it.
Yeah, same here. And like you said, our number ones are pretty much the
Yeah,
same as it
yeah.
were. So I don't want to go into it further.
Yeah, let's do quotes and then we'll look at, I think we both got a bunch of different notes to talk about here. I had two, so I'll do one of mine first. I like when the dwarves are talking about Roach and Jaskier says, "Charming how everyone wants to get their hands on Roach these days, isn't it?" And he introduced himself to the dwarves as, and I had to go back and with the closed captioning figure this, Julian Alfred Pankratz. And I don't know if there's more to that Pankratz because the dwarf cuts him off.
He's got
but-
a long name.
yeah. So I thought that was cool that I don't remember him saying that earlier in the episodes. Maybe he did in episode 2. Maybe he said, I don't recall him saying his full name. I've always just, we've heard Geralt and everybody else refer to him as Jaskier. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, my one quote would be Yennefer stating, "All our choices draw
Yeah.
our destinies."
A lot of talk about
And that was a
destiny
pretty
in
good
this show.
Oh, definitely, because everybody has their own,
Yeah.
and there's no talk of fate. But destiny is what you're destined to. Fate is the
Yeah.
end result at that point.
Yeah, I don't know. My last quote was, "Every time I'm near you, I say more in 5 minutes than I've said in weeks, and I always regret it." And that was when Geralt revealed the child of surprise to Yennefer. I thought that was really great. And Henry Cavill, man, that has to be tough. I wonder if they have to do something for him to maintain that gravelly voice, because that's not his normal speaking voice,
Oh no, definitely not. you if you ever listen to him being interviewed, he sounds so much different.
So we've each got some notes here.
Yeah.
Do you want to just kind of go back and forth?
Sure.
Okay, let me just pick one because we talked about some of mine. What exactly was Geralt's wish? I was a little unclear there at the end when he was talking, when the dragon says, or Borch, I guess we'll just call him Borch, we won't call him the dragon. Borch says that they are tied together, and Geralt says it was in Rin because of the djinn, and Yennefer gets all mad because now she, basically what she says is, well, I don't know if you really have feelings for me or if it's just because of your wish, or if I have feelings, or do I really have feelings for you, or is it just because of the wish? And then she walks away. So I thought that was really kind of interesting. What exactly was his wish? I don't think we ever actually find out exactly what he wished for.
I don't think it's exactly what he wished for, but my feeling is that it was based on her being okay and her with him. Didn't necessarily mean
That could,
more or less romantic.
yeah, that could be. I hadn't thought about that. Kind of like the old Chinese proverb about when you save someone's life, they're
Indebted to
now
them.
bound. Yeah, in debt, that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
maybe he wanted to save her life, and so now they're. Yeah, I could see it. I just think it's kind of.
But
it
in
was
this
kind of
case,
interesting.
it's one-sided because it's only his wish, and she has that feeling of knowing sorcery and how a djinn works. Is that why she's always attracted to him? Is that why she had sexual congress with him? Who knows?
Right.
But,
Right.
and then she's constantly having that on her mind, but yet there's still that attracted where they're together.
Yeah. Exactly. So I hope they explore that. I don't remember if it gets explored later or not. So.
Yeah. Mine would be, I just love the dwarves in this. Like I said, I love this kind of stuff. It was nice to see some sort of representation of dwarves within the universe.
Yeah, are dwarves, are they always Scottish, Irish? I don't know. I can't distinguish those two accents.
It's the weirdest thing. Everybody always presents them as such.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's whoever came into that idea of bringing them into whatever story they are. They just happen to be such.
Yeah. So the first time that I rewatched this week, I didn't think there was much humor in it. And then when I watched it for the second
You
time,
can pick it out, right?
oh yeah, I started seeing all the more humor. And so I literally, the first time I rewatched this, I put a note in saying, man, there's not much humor in this one. And then as I watched it the second time, I was like, well, I'm mistaken. There's a lot more humor in this than I remembered. And so it was kind of cool to get that progression of my
Oh,
thought
definitely,
process.
like with the bridge scene with the dwarves.
Yeah, this is a shortcut to death, you
Yeah.
know.
And then
I
with
was-
them at the very end when they're under that spell and they can't move.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, then Borch comes up to them saying, here's the teeth.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if that's going to come in later on in another season because he promised them to drop a body on.
Yeah, if the king didn't believe. If the king didn't, they said that the teeth might not be enough proof for the king.
Exactly.
And so he says, well, if that's not enough proof, you tell him that I'll drop a body of a dragon on his wedding or whatever. So
right in front of his front steps or something. Yeah.
So
and
we may get to see that next season. I don't know.
it'd be interesting to see what they come up with because if that doesn't happen, the dwarves are going to come back and then that's going to be another quest for Geralt.
Yeah.
So that would be cool to come back to.
Yeah.
I would say notice that whoever that Yennefer accompanies finds death in the end, but except for Geralt,
Yeah.
because every person that she's like on some sort of mission or journey with winds up dead.
Yeah. I was mistaken. Frangilla's hand does appear fine because when she's tending to the guy in the tavern there, both her hands look fine. So it must have been a temporary thing when that spell went wrong for her. So
Well, I like to break down the dragons. Geralt states that the green ones are dwindling, red ones are rare, black ones due to mutation or intentional mutations. But I wonder if this comes up again within the next season or so.
yeah, that was a great conversation because that's another one of those subtle moments where knowing what the twist is, you pick up on when Jaskier says that dragons don't exist, or he kind of is incredulous the fact that dragons exist, and the guy talks about, oh no, gold dragons can be real, and the two, one of them or both of the women warriors kind of laugh and chuckle at that. So I thought that was really, really cool that they knew who they were traveling with. They knew they were traveling with a dragon who can transform himself into a man. I thought that was really cool. Okay, so my next one is that ending. It was kind of tough that we get two serious talks between Jaskier and Geralt in this episode. One is before he goes to see Yennefer, and it's kind of like almost like they're friends, but then at the end there's another serious conversation they have after Yennefer kind of rejects him, that he then tells Jaskier, why is it that every time I'm with you, things go to hell, and I can't maintain this? And then Jaskier kind of goes, well, fine, I'll just leave and I'll go get the rest of the details for everybody else. I thought that was kind of interesting. Those two, I hope Jaskier carries on into the next season because those two guys is a great match there, a great buddy cop, buddy.
Good cop, bad
Whatever.
cop.
Buddy, yeah, buddy monster hunter. Jaskier always wanting to prove himself, and basically Geralt not letting him. So
Definitely.
but that was kind of cool.
So you had a hymn count.
I did. I had one. Yeah, my last one's, and we already talked about your last one.
Yeah.
So I got to 14, and I'm including the sighs that when the closed captioning would say sigh for Geralt. And there was a few times when he said huh instead of but I counted those as hms. So yeah, I got 14, and then of course we got one from Dara right there at the end that I thought was really, really funny when Dara did the So I don't know if that was meant to come across that way or what, but I thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah. And as we talk about the episode as a whole, I really enjoyed it the second and third time because I actually had to watch it a third time as well. And it was pretty cool because you didn't catch the humorous parts of what was going on, the humor parts within the episode, but I did on the second viewing, and I just laughed again on the third.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
there are other things that were deep-seated within it that I really enjoyed. Like the humor parts to me, some of them a little bit sick. Like, it's like, oh, who does that as they're relieving their bowels?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or stuff like that. Or, obviously the dwarves in the very beginning with the bar fight. the awkwardness of Geralt and Yennefer in the very beginning, and then him and his resolve to go on this quest, and then he sees her and changes his mind. I was like,
Right.
of course.
Yeah.
And then, obviously with the bridge scene and the inflection and the cursing of the head dwarf,
Yeah.
who you would think somebody would swat him down, but to me, and then on top of that, the quest and the journey itself, as well as the dragons being a mainstay.
Yeah, I really, like I said, I really enjoyed this episode. I said at the beginning, I love that this was kind of a standalone episode in a way, in that, yes, we got some of the serial arc of it, but it really was its own kind of condensed thing. If we never, even though we've mentioned there's things that they can bring up in the second season about this, but if we never see these dwarves again, if we never see Borch again, we're not going to miss it. We're not going to get to the end of the season 2 and go, well, where was this guy and where was this guy? Because it doesn't really matter. It would be cool to see him again, but it's not like we're gonna, so I really liked that this was kind of a take a breath episode in between everything, because last episode set up a bunch of stuff that we're going to carry into the 7th and the 8th episode here at the end.
Definitely.
So I'm really glad that we've done this kind of slow rewatch, because it gives me a chance to really focus in on those few small points that I might not have picked up on before, or if I was trying to fit in 2 episodes this week, I might have missed the humor. I would have been left with the taste of, there's not much humor in this one. So it was a good episode.
Oh, definitely. And I agree. Honestly, the second watch allows me to enjoy the show a lot more, because at a first viewing, you can get lost. And like you said, you got through episode 5 or 4?
4 or 5, something like that. I don't remember. I think it was the banquets. I think 5. So maybe it was the bank. No, it was 4, because it was the banquets episode.
Yeah, and that could actually change your view if you just watched it once in one passing and be like,
oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then, if you watched it again, not because we're podcasting, but if you watched it again later on, you're like, oh, I didn't catch that before. And
exactly.
Oh, this is humorous. Sometimes it does take a couple of watches, even if it is a show. Sometimes a movie does that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, well, you say that about the movie. We talked about Strange Indeed covering In the Tall Grass last week.
Yes.
And I'm just going to move on, since we have no comic talk and we have no news. I'm just going to move on.
Yeah,
we talked about
definitely.
Strange Indeed, and they did their coverage of In the Tall Grass. Paik and Rima, love those guys. They are so cool. People that we've met that we've met in the real world, and I'm hoping to be able to go down to Tyler again in November if they have the Comic-Con down there, and see Paik again. But they did In the Tall Grass, and so I only watched the movie once, I think, once, and then listen to their podcast. I want to now, after listening to their podcast, I want to watch the movie again. And I just finished the novella today as well, and so I want to go back and watch the movie again at some point. So it's great podcasting about things, because we get that chance to do a deep dive. But then there's also things like, I've been, during this whole quarantine lockdown, I've been doing a rewatch of The Office, which I haven't done in a while, and I'm in the last season now of The Office, and I'm just loving it. And as for podcast recommendations, I just subscribed to it because Jenna Fisher and Angela Kinsey are doing a rewatch of The Office. Now, they're still in season 1, so I'm kind of pick and choosing the episodes that I'm going to listen to. But they're doing a podcast over The Office called Office Ladies, and so I would definitely recommend that. It's really good.
Yeah.
The Scrubs rewatch podcast with Donald Faison and Zach Braff is amazing. And the other one is, I did listen to one episode of Michael Rosenbaum's. You've mentioned Inside of You, and I listened to his interview with Bob Odenkirk today or this week, and really, really good. Those are a little long. His, which is cool, but at the same time takes a while to get through.
Oh, he gets inside of people.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so the Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum, and specifically, I've only listened to the Bob Odenkirk one, but I did not know how prolific Bob Odenkirk has been over the year.
Definitely.
Like he's
been around a long time.
He is. He's only 6 or 7 years older, I think, than us. I think he's like 56, 57. He's turning 57 this year. He said it during the podcast. But I didn't know until this podcast, and it's on the trivia if you go to his IMDb, but I'd never gone there, that he wrote the Chris Farley Van Down by the River sketch for SNL. Chris Farley had created the character, but Bob Odenkirk wrote that sketch
for SNL.
Yeah, and just all he's the connection he had with Chris Farley was really kind of amazing, and just all the stuff he's doing on Better Call Saul this year. And when they finish Breaking Bad, I think it's got one more season. I'm gonna go and watch Breaking Bad because I've never watched Breaking Bad. What did I say? Did I say it correctly? I think I did. They got one more season of Better Call Saul, which is the prequel to Breaking Bad. I've never watched Breaking Bad, so I'll be doing that.
Awesome. The only thing I have really to recommend, Chris Hardwick's ID10T. He's been coming back strong with a lot of people online. He did one recently that I enjoyed with Alexandra Daddario.
Oh, nice.
You find some interesting things about people within his podcast, just like you do on with Mike Rosenbaum's.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Alexandra plays piano, and she's really good. And apparently, Chris is starting to learn more piano. So they get into this whole thing and what they're doing within this whole quarantine. And apparently, this was done in the very beginning. But regardless, it was nice to hear that feedback. And it was pretty funny. Today, I just happened to watch 2 movies that she was in. And, she might be a lot younger, but she is a fantastic actress. Plus, she's easy to look at too on film. But definitely listen to Chris Hardwick. He loves getting into all the specifics and everything.
Very cool. So for our podcast next week, we will be covering episode 7 of The Witcher. I do not have the title or the synopsis in front of me, so you'll find out next week. So
you'll get it then.
Yeah, exactly. This is a different format kind of podcast for us. For those of you listening, this is the first time both of us have watched an entire series, and now we're going back to rewatch that series. So it's a little bit of a different format for us. So it's been kind of cool. We may try this again sometime. I don't know in the future, but we'll have to. We got a couple more episodes of The Witcher to do, and we're getting close to our 100th episode. So Send us some feedback, and you can find us on Spotify, Google Play, Apple iTunes, or whatever podcast player of choice you use. If there's the chance, the ability to give us a review, we would love to have a review, a 5-star review from you on that, whatever podcast player of choice you use. We have a website, which is panelstopixelspodcast.com, and we have a Facebook page, which is the best place for you to interact with us, which is facebook.com/panelstopixels. We also have an email address. There, it's where you can send us voicemails, emails, whatever you want. It's panelstopixels1@gmail.com. That's panelstopixels1. The TO is spelled out right there in the middle. The number 1@gmail.com. You can also call us and leave us a voicemail at 845-350-2095. You can also find us on YouTube under Panels to Pixels Podcast.
Awesome. And where else can everybody else listen to us right now? Well, normally I'm a co-host on The Walking Dead Talk Through, or Brian Malash on Talk Through Media. And with that, we review The Walking Dead each week. This show, Panels to Pixels, is always on the Next Level Podcast Network, but there will always be a link for Talk Through Media podcast for others to listen to through our Facebook page. So,
absolutely.
Right now, Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, World Beyond is on hold until further notice. So there isn't anything Walking Dead related, but you can listen to all previous episodes on talkthroughmedia.com. You can get those through Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. We do have the first and only episode of Let's Talk Through, and that's up, where I'm kind of pushing Kyle to let's do another one because we have all this time in between, so we should get more podcasts out. And I really would like to get something that's cool, that's pop culture based, that we could actually talk about and have fun with, get another group going.
Sure.
So
exactly.
I look forward to doing that. Obviously, you could hear Steve and I here, and you could hear Steve in other places.
Yeah, I watch way too much TV. I easily admit that, and will freely admit that to anybody who asks. I watch way too much TV, and I love submitting voicemails to various podcasts, so my voice will pop up occasionally. Westworld has wrapped up. House Podcastic have wrapped up their coverage of Westworld, and currently I'm not sure what Strange Indeed is going to do next. They haven't announced that, or Rima hasn't announced that yet, what she's going to do next. TV Podcast Industries is covering Penny Dreadful, City of Angels. I send them feedback each week so you can hear my voice there. And of course, right here on the Next Level Podcast Network on Panels to Pixels.
Which is awesome. So that's pretty much our show for this evening. Thanks everybody for listening. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And this was Panels to Pixels. And we'll see you all on the next panel. Good night.
Good night.